So in this lesson, you will take notes from Chapter 1, Section 6, and this is Part 2. So early in the colonial governments, we were descendants of the British, so everybody still agreed to pledge allegiance to the British Crown and the British laws. However, after a while, each colony was given the privilege to create their own state or colonial governments. So each colony had a governor, a legislature, and a court system that was completely separate, and we became very distant from Great Britain. The earliest forms of government that were represented in colonial times, one was the Mayflower Compact. Now, this was a compact or an agreement, if you will, that was made between the men on the Mayflower ship that was coming over to Massachusetts, the Pilgrim families. So there were 41 of them. And while they were on board, they realized we need some sort of document that outlines specific laws for the colony so that there would not be chaos. They knew that they had to have some type of agreement for certain laws that their colonists, when they came to the New World, would actually have to follow. So that would have been in 1620. And here you can see this is an image of the men signing the Mayflower Compact. There were women on board, but at this point, women were not considered, to be citizens and taking part in government. A second type of government that was set up in the colonies is the Great Fundamentals, and this would have been in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Plymouth is where the Pilgrims settled. The Massachusetts Bay Colony was located nearby, and it was founded roughly 10 years after the landing of the Pilgrims. This became the very first system of laws in the English colony. Again, the Mayflower Compact, that was just, they came up with certain bylaws or agreements, but really didn't set forth on how to punish those who did not follow the laws. So that comes about with the Great Fundamentals. Here's your laws you have to follow, and here's what happens if you do not. Then, 3 years later, in 1639, the Puritans in that Massachusetts Bay Colony, some of them left. They separated because they were having a disagreement about how things should be ran. So some of them separated and created the new colony of Connecticut. And here they came up with what's called the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. And this outlined the privileges, in addition to laws, the privileges of citizens. For example, in this Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, it gave people the right to elect a governor, elect judges, and elect representatives to make laws instead of everybody voting on every law. As these colonies were gaining in numbers, it would have been difficult for everyone to vote on every issue. So therefore, they were electing representatives to do that for them. The earliest legislative body took place in the Virginia colony. So this is the first form of Congress. Only one house. Now we have a Senate and a House of Representatives. Here they just have one house, and it was called the House of Burgesses. So this is where the individuals who were elected to make laws, this is where they went and discussed laws and debated on the laws. And this would have been established in 1619. As the colonies were gaining their independence and not having a lot of contact with Great Britain, after several generations pass by, people start to see themselves as now, citizens of the New World instead of associating with Great Britain from the past. And eventually, the colonists are going to get upset because they do not have a representative voice. They do not have representatives in Congress. So eventually, Great Britain will be passing laws that are imposed on the colonists, and the colonists have no say. They have no voice. And so they were very upset about, not having that representation for them like the British citizens did. And eventually that's going to lead to the American Revolution, where the Americans will declare their independence from Great Britain because they lack that early representation.